We are here with champion of change, trailblazer in his field, mental health advocate, and just an all-around good human being and a great friend, Lorenzo P. Thank you for joining us today on My Brother's Keeper podcast.
Absolutely. Hey, it is a pleasure. I'm glad to be here. And again, as we know, being My Brother's Keeper is definitely something that we want to continue to embody around our community. So I'm really glad that you're doing this, man.
Thank you, brother. Of course. We're doing it together. We're a team.
Absolutely.
We're all in this world together trying to make a difference.
That's it.
My name is Kevin Hines. I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. I believed that I had to die, but I lived. Now I help people be here tomorrow. Can you tell me about your upbringing and what led you down the path to eventually create the Confess Project?
Well, honestly, Kevin, it was one of those opportunities where I didn't realize my journey and how it would impact change. So I just thought I was always going through a rough time. I realized that I lost my mother and father early on. I learned early on in my youth that when my mother was incarcerated, I was born. So I was born in a prison. And beyond that, I was incarcerated at the age of 17 for a firearm. And so I just always felt like this was a normal thing to happen, simply because of my environment, my community. It very much reflects a lot of men and my family members, right? First in my family to really go to college, get a degree. Particularly, I didn't grow up across the street from doctors and attorneys, and so it was a normal reaction of what I was going through, and which I felt was super normal. And not realizing that trauma was really impacting me, it really led me on a journey of wanting to understand more about that. And so I landed a job, first working at the juvenile corrections, and that led me to working in the mental health field. And that in itself allowed me to see that there was a space to build for young black men, for the black community around mental health. And so it took me back also, as a kid, I grew up in my aunt's beauty salon. Every day I went there after school. Again, taking that for granted. I went to the shop every day because that's what I was supposed to do. And going to the beauty shop, I realized that those women and men that was coming there was truly being transformed simply from the relationships, the conversations they had. They would feed people, they would clothe folks. They would do different things for the community, and they just did it because it was the right thing to do. And so all those experiences culminated the Confess Project. It's now a national movement that trains barbers at the epicenter of being mental health advocates. So I took my personal and my professional journey and really made it now what is a reality for men behind the chair, giving positive advice and giving, just allowing them to share their stories. And that leads to people unlocking their best potential.
That's phenomenal. Why? Why is it so important to you, Lorenzo, to give back to the mental health community?
A lot of it has been really thinking about my younger self. If my aunt and uncle, they did everything they could, my mother and father was separated from me and I grew up with them. And I feel that if they had the tools that they needed to have when I was being in my younger self, that I think they would have done more, but I think they didn't have no idea on how to do it. I think a lot of it was, obviously we recognize the stigma, not wanting to accept what it is, feeling that it was maybe something, spiritual we could pray away. Or I think a lot of it was, obviously, it's just the lack of knowledge, in our communities. They're not really teaching us sometimes on how to deal with it, or that may come across, the language may be too heavy. And so that is what inspires me, is because I know better. I've had the experience. I've worked now in the sector, and I understand the language. And so this is something that I can do for young people, for families, and allowing them through our work to be transformed, for them to see, their potential. And while unlocking that, I think we just get to do really great things for the people around us. So,
now going back to your personal mental health journey, what did you go through mentally that erupted in you this passion to give back?
Honestly, it was the turning point when I started the Confess Project. I started realized that I wanted to do this. And so I recognized that my story was very important. And it was just going into the barbershop, and it started as me telling that journey about when I was incarcerated, about at the age of 10 when I went into a mental health facility because I had lost my dad. And so grief took me into a lot of behavior issues. And a lot of these things I had to really reflect back. And so all these experiences led me to just going into the barbershop, telling that story at the first part of it. And that story really connected with people there. And I believe that really what helped to start building the momentum of what we do now. And so now it's like, okay, well, stories are at the heart of this, but also what else can we give them? We can give them tools. And that's why we say, hey, active listening is a tool, and validation is a tool, and reducing stigma to eradicate negative self-talk is a tool. So by doing this, it really it inspires me, but it inspires them because they're telling stories during a 45 increment of a haircut service, right? So this is power that's being unlocked in a way that probably wouldn't happen. So we're really giving them something that they already have, but really giving it something more clear and something that's really fleshed out.
If this video helped you, inspired you, or you think it could help someone you know, please take a second to share this video. Your share could save a life. And whatever you do, fight to be well. Be here tomorrow.